The Minnesota Vikings will face the Pittsburgh Steelers in the first of back-to-back international games against the AFC North in Week 4. However, their opponent attempted to get a bit of a jump on things, but the NFL's judgment on the matter should work in the Vikings' favor. Whether or not it matters in the end remains to be determined on the field, but the Steelers were indeed looking for an edge. Instead, the Vikings got some help from the NFL. NFL denies Steelers' request before Vikings game. Every team, just like any other international traveler, goes through an acclimation period as they adjust to the difference in time zones. Arriving earlier means adjusting sooner, allowing for a more natural feeling to game time. The game is in Dublin, which is 6 hours ahead of Minneapolis and 5 hours ahead of Pittsburgh. The Steelers wanted to arrive early, but the NFL rejected their request. FYI, the Steelers wanted to go over early in the week, but the NFL said no and making each time arrive at the same time, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette's Jerry Dulock wrote on September 23rd. I don't know the exact reason for the change. Yes, the Vikings as the home team got to London early in the week in 2013. Maybe it has to do with something about a competitive advantage. But it wasn't the Steelers' decision. Many fans cried foul about the decision, with some anticipating the Steelers would face further delays in addition to not receiving clearance to travel early. Others viewed it as keeping the playing field fair, so long as the Vikings received the same instructions as the Steelers. According to Vegas Insider, the Vikings are 1.5-point favorites over the Steelers entering the contest as of September 24th. Vikings face Aaron Rodgers after rejection. Steelers QB Aaron Rodgers' interest in signing with the Vikings was among the bigger storylines this past offseason. The Vikings chose to let J.J. McCarthy work virtually unchallenged as QB1 throughout the offseason program. Rodgers now gets a chance to show the Vikings what they missed out on in Week 4. The 10-time Pro Bowler and 4-time MVP has completed 65.1% of his passes for 586 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. The Steelers are 2-1 entering this home game against the Vikings, who come in with the same record, adding another layer of intrigue to the contest. Carson Wentz can make big statement in Week 4. McCarthy is sidelined for at least another week, meaning the Vikings will once again turn to Carson Wentz in his stead. Wentz posted a 173-2-0 line on 70% completion in Week 3, leading the Vikings to a 48-10 rout of the Cincinnati Bengals. He will face a stiffer challenge in Week 4 against the Steelers, who are second in the league in blitz rate, per Pro Football Reference. However, they also rank 26th against the pass, so Wentz should have opportunities downfield. According to Pro Football Focus, Wentz completed 3 of his 5 attempts, 60%, against the blitz in Week 3. He also threw one of his TD passes on a Bengals blitz. The Steelers have logged 8 sacks on the season. That is 1 fewer than the Vikings and 1 more than Rodgers has taken. Keeping Wentz upright, he took 3 sacks against the Bengals, will be the key for the Vikings against the Steelers. The New England Patriots suffered a 21-14 loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers in Week 3, due in large part to the fact that the team committed 5 turnovers throughout the game. As a result, that could lead to a bigger role for rookie running back TreVeyon Henderson in Week 4. With Ramondre Stevenson losing 2 fumbles and Antonio Gibson losing 1 himself, the Patriots turned to Henderson as their top running back in the second half of their clash with the Steelers, as he was seemingly the only player at this spot who could hold onto the football. Fumbling the football has been a recurring issue for both Stevenson and Gibson, and after the team's turnover issues directly led to their loss to the Steelers, some sort of punishment is expected for New England's top 2 running backs. The most widely expected solution would be to make Henderson the team's starting running back in Week 4. Sure enough, at the team's practice on Wednesday, Henderson was the first running back to go through drills, with Gibson then Stevenson following behind him. In this tackling/ball carrier drill at Wednesday's practice, rookie TreVeyon Henderson is the first RB to rep, followed by Antonio Gibson, then Ramondre Stevenson. Typically, the player who goes first through drills is the team's top option, so this would seem to indicate that Henderson is tracking towards starting for New England on Sunday. Of course, this is just speculation for the time being, but it is still a telling sign. Story continues below advertisement. While Henderson could start, it seems likely that Stevenson and Gibson will still play a role on offense for the Pats in Week 4. Regardless of who is in the backfield, the team will be looking to protect the football better when they take the field against the Carolina Panthers. Former Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger called the Steelers' defense very vanilla. To me, without studying our defense, it seems like we're a pretty vanilla defense as it is, Roethlisberger said on his Football and podcast. It doesn't feel like, to me, we're getting a lot of unique pressures, unique defenses, and I think even Coach Tomlin said that Tuesday in his press conference. He said that something along the lines of, and I'll probably mess it up, that situations or circumstances are preventing them from doing things, and I don't know what that means. The New York Jets are signing former Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker Mark Robinson off the New England Patriots practice squad. And in Toure FC East poaching, the #Jets are signing LB Mark Robinson off the #Patriots practice squad, per source. A newly renovated stadium in New Roads will be named after Steelers linebacker Patrick Queen, according to WBRZ. Queen is a Livonia High School alumnus, and the new Patrick Queen Stadium will be used for both Livonia High School and the STEM Magnet Academy of Pointe-Coupee. Queen and his family will be at the stadium on Wednesday, October 1st, for a dedication ceremony at 6 p.m. Ben Roethlisberger believes the Steelers will get outcoached by the Vikings in Ireland. If I say that I think we're going to get outcoached, is that controversial? I'll say this, I think Brian Flores is a very good defensive coordinator. I think Coach Kevin O'Connell is an exceptional offensive mind, Roethlisberger said. They're going to find ways to try and exploit our defense, and their defense, which is what everyone does, I get it, I just think that there's a chance that it could. Ben Roethlisberger has an outside source with the Steelers, and they say Broderick Jones is just not good enough. I got word from someone outside the organization, not in the organization, that watches the all-22. There's not just these ones, there's a majority of plays where it's just not good enough, Roethlisberger said. I assume Tomlin's addressing it. Maybe it goes to the O-line coach. I don't know him. I don't know what he's doing, but at some point, there needs to be some accountability from that left tackle. Ben Roethlisberger thinks James Harrison would have had 15 sacks a game against Broderick Jones. James Harrison, what did he talk about? Leverage. You get a guy like if James Harrison was going up against Broderick Jones, he would have 15 sacks a game, Roethlisberger said. I am telling you the low leverage he is going to get around Broderick. Broderick has to be better at protecting. The Steelers have -417 negative net yardage this season, which is the second worst margin in the NFL. Only the Tennessee Titans -454 are worse. Net yardage this year. 439, Indianapolis Colts. 398, Buffalo Bills. 334, Atlanta Falcons. 286, Los Angeles Rams. 286, San Francisco 49ers. 257, Cleveland Browns. 257, Los Angeles Chargers. 203, Green Bay Packers. 193, Jacksonville Jaguars. 152, Detroit Lions. 88, New England. Pittsburgh has been outgained by 289 yards in its 2 wins. The New England Patriots outgained the Steelers 349 yards to 101 over the final 3 quarters. New England turned over the ball 5 times, however, which led to the Steelers' 21-14 win. The Steelers have scored touchdowns on 88% of their red zone appearances this year. Last year, that number was 48%. Only the Cincinnati Bengals, 2.4, average less than the Steelers' 2.8 yards per rush attempt. Steelers outside linebacker Nick Herbig had a field day against rookie Will Campbell on Sunday. 68 seconds of Nick Herbig beating Will Campbell yesterday. Herbig was top 5 in total QB pressures in Week 3. His 4 quick pressures led the NFL. Herbig had 1 sack and 1 forced fumble. Not the best outing for Campbell. Jaylen Warren has only averaged 3.1 yards per carry, but he's been impressive. 121 of his 132 yards have come after contact through the first 3 weeks of the season. Jaylen Warren might only be averaging 3.1 yards per carry, but he's playing good ball right now. Sick jump cut on the first drive. 121 of his 132 yards have come after contact through the first 3 weeks of the season. Steelers linebacker Patrick Queen has totaled 8 run stops over the first 3 weeks of the season, tied 5th most among NFL LBs.